Hey YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and I was I was on social media, and there was an image that I saw that reminded me that I'm an alcoholic. I haven't been drinking. It's been a couple years for me now, but they say that you still are, um, which means like if I didn't have Donna here and I had unlimited resources, how fast would it be before I would be back to the same place I was with my drinking as opposed to when I stopped? And I think that would be about 24 hours. But the point of this video is a recipe for, there's that Beastie Boys song called Brass Monkey. So I work with this guy years ago, and he was like, we were having a smoke break, and he was like telling me about the day before his night. He said that he only had $2, but he needed to get drunk. Now, this goes back to working more menial labor type jobs, working on concrete floor, he was working at a car dealership in the parts department. So after a shift there, yeah, you're gonna want to have a couple beers. Definitely, you're gonna need it. That's just a reality that some people don't understand. There's like church going folks that have been sitting in air conditioning their whole life that just point and talk about people. You don't know what it's like to work a full day, a really demanding job, and not, one of the things I remember that got to me when I was at that place was it just seemed like everybody that I knew that was an adult, it was a race for them to get intoxicated. Like they didn't care about anything except for getting messed up. And that can be if you're in that blue collar thing and you're working these physically demanding jobs that are not rewarding or stimulating, if they're soul stealing jobs where the bosses are power hungry and they mess with the employees, these types of situations, yes, people, they will need to get messed up after their shift is over. And I can't blame anybody for that. I can't. In Germany, they had like the Reinheitsgebot, which is the German brewer purity law. So it's a law about how they make their beer. And they had it figured out of like how strong you can make the beer, as far as how many hours people are off of work and when they got to get back to work, how many of those could they drink and make it so it wouldn't affect their performance the next day. So this has all been like scienced out. They figured all this out, and that's why in the states they have laws about beer. You can't call a drink beer if it's more than 3.5% alcohol. You have to call it uh, ale or anything but beer, malt beverage, you know? And, someone on the DIY battery forum, they had a lithium ion battery power pack that they had made, which is like a bunch of these batteries all soldered together. And the guy had used a plastic beer bottle, like we have 40-ounce bottles here in the States that are glass, that's sold mostly to African American community or lower income housing where it might be not just American immigrant, but immigrant or Hispanic communities. This is the type of drinks that are marketed. And it's interesting. I've seen in more European stores, they'll have this type of drink a beverage, an alcohol beverage that is usually this is what the guy used in the battery project. He had a bottle, he cut the end off and then used a heat gun and formed the plastic around the battery pack. And it's a dark brown bottle, maybe reddish brown, some of them are. And they're just like a 40, but they're taller. And they'll have ridiculous alcohol content. Like they'll have 8% alcohol for like a beer type of a drink. Some of them are up to 13. And I remember back when I used to drink beer, sometimes I would think, oh man, wouldn't that be nice if I could buy that stuff because it's so cheap. Get a bottle of that and figure out some way that I could stomach it because the taste is so bad that I can't keep it down. I will vomit if I drink that. I know I sound like a girl admitting that, but that's every time I've ever bought it, I've ended up vomiting before I got even a third into the bottle. And typically, these types of beverages, you won't be able to read any English on it. And they might have pictures of monks. And the reason I think they have those monks is because these are old, they're actually brewed by these monks that have handed these recipes down for how many years, where they do it the same way with the same crop of whatever they can grow up in the gulag, whatever kind of weird grains that they can grow. They process it and make this swill that is so horrible tasting. The only way you could think about scarfing it down is like the alternative would be some goat piss. That's all we have. We have this beer that he made where there's goat piss. What do you want to drink with your rotten meat dinner that we have for you? Your donkey hoof you have to eat. So what's sad to me is, okay, the Eastern European beverage that seems like it's sold where really poor people live tastes so bad that I will vomit if I drink it. And if I try the same thing, but in America, like they have Old English 800 is a type of malt liquor beer, although it's stronger, so they don't call it beer. It's just malt liquor. But it's like if you saw it, you would think it's beer. Okay, it's yellow. It's got bubbles. It looks just like beer, but it has such a foul taste to it. Like this is like beyond skunky beer. Like this is. I can't drink it. I couldn't drink an OE 800. I would vomit drinking it. So there is a popular. The Beastie Boys is the name of this group. Anyway, they have a song called Brass Monkey. And I was talking to my friend, my coworker. He said, you ever have a day where you only have $2 in your pocket and you need to get messed up? So he tells me that they had a kid, like him and his wife. He worked in the parts department, this car dealership. And he only had $2 and he needed a buzz, so he bought an Old English and he had it in the freezer and he couldn't get it cold enough to stomach drinking it. It tasted so bad. And I'm like, I know. I couldn't drink it either. So he said he got Sunny D. That's what you do. You open the Old English 840 ouncer and you pour it out down to where there's a bottom, a big label, and then a top smaller label, like a band that goes around the bottle. You pour it out so that the top of the ale comes up to the bottom of that top label. And then you pour the Sunny D back to make it full again, put the cap on it, and slowly swirl around to mix it. And then you have a brass monkey. And I said, was it good? And he said, well, I was right at the line of vomiting, like when he had the last of it. But he did. Now, okay, I don't drink, and I don't want to turn this into a thing about addiction. I'll just say that we fight our own fight, we walk our own road, and we learn our own lesson. When it comes to whatever intoxicant is out there that has your name on it, your lifelong love affair, that's between you and that substance. You ultimately have to come to your own realization to be able to set that aside and move on with your life. Those are important things, lessons that we learned. And it's really important to do that sooner rather than later, like me. Now, not doing it at all and dying while you're still a fuckhead, that's losing the game. We want to try to learn our lesson while we're here. So, but I have to be very clear. It's up to each and every one of us to come to that realization on our own. No one can do it for you. How easy we're led astray, but then when it actually comes time to face the dragon, you're all by yourself. So that's all I'll say about that. Now, of course, I'm laughing. This guy tells me this story about this brass monkey, and I can barely contain myself. And the first thing that I want to do is race home and come up with my own version. So I did that. It ended up becoming a crutch, and I had them with me. Like, we would bring it out. I had a rig to make brass monkeys, a portable rig, and I always had them. And people would be like, "What's that guy drinking?" And like, what is there fruit in there? Like, what is that? Because the color of it's really weird. So if you become addicted to these things, just leave it at home. Otherwise, people are going to notice it. They're going to, yeah, we got to play. You got to start setting up. So there will be that, are you putting fruit in your beer discussion that you'll have to eventually deal with. But typically, if you're not afraid to give them out and let people try them, you tend to win people over with it. Nobody ever said they didn't like it. And a matter of fact, nobody ever like adapted out and started doing it like I did, because it's a lot to do. It's a lot to do a brass monkey properly. But here's the way that I did it. Okay. So you get frozen concentrated orange juice in a can. And you're going to want to set that in a pan of hot water, get it down to room temperature as quick as you can. Rotate the hot water. And you open that up and you pour it through a strainer and use a spatula. You're going to have a bowl to collect it and a spatula. And I had a plastic squeeze bottle that had a flip top straw.
That's if you have the pulpy kind. That's why.
Yeah, you got to strain. You don't, if you can buy frozen concentrate orange juice that does not have pulp in it, good luck finding that. Or you can just strain the stuff with the pulp and throw the pulp away. That's what I did. I strained mine. If you don't mind pulp in your drink, having little bits that you're going to be spitting on, maybe you'll think that's cool to be spitting the whole time. I didn't. So I had this plastic container with the flip straw that you could squeeze 2 squeezes and it would give you the perfect brass monkey. I use, this is called a pint glass. So I would keep 2 of these in the freezer and I would put 6 cans of Ice House beer, which is higher alcohol. It's 5.5% Ice House. So I would get that beer, that can, like, so it's just starting to freeze a little bit on the inside. And I would have a lime. So I would take the glass out of the freezer and I would rim the glass with the lime and then I would squeeze it, but I would be careful so a bunch of pieces of lime wouldn't go in the glass, and then I would throw the lime away. Then I would squeeze 2 2 squirts of the frozen concentrate orange juice, which I would keep in the fridge. And then I would take the Ice House beer, open it, turn the glass and the beer at the same angle, and slowly pour. And something with the lime juice would make sure that you would have no head on the glass. And I always used metal straw with some type of insulation so it doesn't make a lot of noise. And I usually had foam Huggies wrapped around my drinking glasses. So I would have a pinter with a big foam on it, and I would have a cooler with me with the ice houses, the ice, would have the orange juice, and a little container full of cut up limes. They have these little boxes you can get at the dollar store with snap lids. You can put your limes in there. Those work really good. Or you can baggie them, but that's kind of like, it's kind of looks a little cheesy. Get one of these for your limes. And that was the way that I did it. I drank so many of those Brass Monkeys, I couldn't even tell you. And this was when things were starting to get expensive. Like when I started my drinking career, I could spend $3 and get 8 beers for that, you know. And at the end, it was like we were trying to find these 12 packs or 30 pack of Ice House for $11.99. You know, like when I started with it, they were like $9.99, and then they went up, and they, you know. So I was getting that beer because Miller always had it on sale. It was like they knew that the blue collar community could handle drinking 12 of those a night and going to work. I mean, that's the thing. When you start getting up 5.5% alcohol, if you drink those ice houses fast, you're going to be drunk as a skunk. I was trying to slow myself down because adding the orange juice totally changes it, and it makes it so you feel fuller from it. So it was an effort to make it so I didn't get too drunk. You know, what I was trying to do was session drink, which is you get off of work and you eat a big giant dinner, and then you have 1 beer an hour for however many hours until then you go to bed, and then you sleep that off and wake up. And if you do it right, if you session drink right, which means only drinking 1 drink an hour, and that drink only has 1 shot of alcohol in it, your body should be able to process that. So you should only lose an hour of sleep. You should be okay. But it never works out that way. Anyway, you can learn more about session drinking, pints, the Reinheitsgebot. If you just look this stuff up, it's all common knowledge. The most important thing with whatever addictive substance, it might be weed that you really love. You know what your thing is. And if you're struggling, that's your own system is telling you that, you know, you have an issue you need to address. So the best thing to do is put thought behind intent, which means think about it a lot and have that intention that, yeah, I'm not going to let this take me to the grave. I'm going to be stronger than this. And eventually, that thought will lead to an action, maybe. You'll put some intent behind your action. You'll have that momentum behind you, and you'll be able to pull it off. It's been 2 years for me, and I had a significant problem. I never thought I would be able to do it. And there's people around me that would be my people, like in my family, that said that they can't believe that I'm no longer doing that. So, the best decision is to not do it at all. If you think you're going to be missing out on something in life as far as experience goes, the only drug or alcohol experience that's worth having is mild psychedelic experience. All the rest of the stuff, you're not missing anything. And gee, with how things are now, the stuff that's going around, no way would I want to try any of that stuff. There's some scary stuff going around. Anyway, you guys be safe, be smart. Bless you. I hope wherever you are, your temperature stable, you're reasonably happy. And if you can, it's important that we hug our pets. That's the most important thing. And peace.